Hello and welcome to today's cryptocurrency videos for Friday the 15th day of September 2017. Welcome. My name is Derek. Let's take a look at these markets. Everything you do is within your own risk and own reward. I'm looking at the weekly Bitcoin chart, and it has already steadily risen from the 18 average of lows up to the 18 average of highs in just a matter of a few hours on the weekly term time frame. It was a fast rise from the point it hit this support. Big move higher. From this move, big move higher. And then all of these last times with support within this 18 average band, since the bull market pretty much was in good establishment, pretty much noticeably in the summer of 2016, then it's been nothing but support up, support, big move up, support, big move up. And I'm not saying that's what's transpiring now, but that's what's been going on, and that's what's currently playing through again. It's already found some support here, which could strengthen it more, or not strengthen it more on moves lower, but strengthen the level of how big that point is, where you could have situations where you come down here, back again, and even though everything looks good, that's just normal because you're supposed to get support in key areas where it's obvious. And I've been talking so much ever since this broke. I'd say this will be support on the long-term time frame, or intermediate-term time frame, really. And sure enough, that's the case because that's usually what they do. So because that's the case, and I've talked so many times about, oh, it's bearish and bullish to buy here or sell here or whatnot. Well, if you buy here and you've already sold, you've already won. Or if you plan on selling later, you probably might get a bigger gain later on. But it's very common if it's going to go down lower, and maybe we do test some significantly larger areas, that you do have a pop here first, and then it's going to head lower. But for me to see any type of reason to go bearish on this chart, I need to see something like I did in here. Notice within this move, it had a small, no, I can't say small. It had a regular, standard, decent, okay size, good size correction from 800 to 340. Okay, that's huge. Well, you bottom below 100. You go, and then you make a significant higher low here. Yeah, that's normal correction. Big volatility in this market. So when you think people are out of their mind when they're talking about not only 5 digits Bitcoin, but maybe closer to 6 and higher, then, well, I'm not saying that they're going to be right. I'm just saying that, technically speaking, the historical charts and the movements towards it kind of justifies that it could do kind of those sort of things. And a situation in leaving here, you know, the volatility, you can see moves like this. You could even exceed moves like this. I expect when there's going to be a top in this market, and this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the case, that there would be significant volume. We're just having consistent volume. And you'd have some pretty decent size moves. And you know what? Overall, this is a decent move for what it's worth. But like I'm talking about large green candles, like a month where the thing would go up like 75 or 250%, kind of 150%, something like that. It goes all the way up to like 7, 8, 900. Moving on to daily time, and just like almost an exact hit within the Bitstamp exchange and most of the other ones in here. And there's decent volume in here, but you know what though? That's normal in situations of this type of nature with this high extreme volatility, movements of this type of nature. And what do we see here? This would be the most obvious area you'd expect to encounter resistance. You have this support level where we're at now, upwards to this point. So just as I was stating on the way down, there really wasn't any support. Well, the same is true for the back on the way up again. Now we're going to be looking this now on a shorter term time frame, so let's bring up another chart. And we'll start with the 4-hour. When we look at this, straight down, and at least up to this point, straight up a lot faster. And then it went down from the area of south of 3,700. And this is a big reason why I'm just happy just in any of these codes just to stick the buy orders in, because to be able to time this and get the gains, only a few people are going to do that. Let's shorten this out further to the 1-hour time frame. But again, we can see as far as this level of resistance is concerned, that would be probable oftentimes in the situations like this, big levels of support act out as resistance. And then in the situations where they do, but they don't resist much, thus maybe come up here, just go sideways or do something like that, and then they break it, oh my goodness kind of deal. And if it's not resistance, when you're at a heavy area where you're supposed to encounter such and you don't, that's where you talk about fast move, because it's almost like a failure that it didn't stop going up. So where would a fast move location be? And that would be previous high in the areas of at least this area to here. And in order for that to be the case, let me get rid of this drawing a little bit. And this has got to consolidate fast, but or this has got to settle down rather. But if you see the action quickly moving in towards the 4,000s, or rather past this area here, we're supposed to have resistance, like into like 43, 44. That would be super duper strong setup. But you know what? That's unlikely that it's going to happen. When you look at a market like this, because of that wild current formation of the candle, you need to look at different time frames to make better sense of it. So let's put the single hour up. And we went into a situation where you come up to this correctionary phase and it didn't correct. It just kept on going. That's not that common of a situation. Again, we're seeing the fast move when this thing hit that area that a lot of people would see, because to me it's just so obvious. It was easy for me to figure out that there'd be a likely area for support here. But buyers have majorly flurried into this market over the last little while. And this thing, I mean, okay, we're really supposed to start getting resistance in around here. And of course, I mentioned where it was from a little bit before. If it comes in here, this is all healthy in this market if it does stuff like that. But it's making a statement. And that's what I like to do is what's the message of the market. And in poker, they talk about what's the story of the hand and stuff like that. And I make sense of it. What's the story here? Well, obviously, when it broke this level of support, it was a complete bear market. It never, ever was able to even come close to reverting the trend. This was a correctionary move where it resisted the 18 average, but didn't even get above it for anything more than micro pierces. And then leg lowers, all of them. So the statement is, okay, you know what? We're done with this major Dow move. We're ready to go back higher and make the pattern of higher highs and higher lows. We'll establish the first higher high now, because all of these lower lows that came in place, well, this is already higher than this little area here. So we have a higher high, a higher low becomes very important. And that's why I often will look to see how this will move in throughout the day, as there could be corrections. But this is a major bull market long term that it's really tough to bet against it when it's been doing so well. But you know what, short term, one might say, isn't it up so much that couldn't I sell here and buy back here? You know what, probably you're going to do well long term with that. But that's not all the time, because sometimes it won't go there and sometimes it'll just keep flying higher. When we look at this on the 15-minute time frame, we're looking at it from the fall from the 4,000 area. So this is where the key support level was broke. Resistance test number 1. And then on the break of such, you can see down she goes. Managed to have a decent break above here, but that's all it was. And that's kind of normal too. But there's your consolidating. And this is where the weakness is coming in. Lots of selling opportunities in here that worked out, of course, if you bought back here or even back way down here. But from this situation here, this is another statement. This was a real good one back in here that ultimately failed. It first flattened it out. I like in here, this is a small candle you can hardly see, is big because it stated that after it came back down from here, it took at least a decent amount of time within such to make a move here, back to the band, and now it's all bullish. You're breaking here, so you'd expect the market to go up there, but it didn't. And then on this point in here, you could see that things were starting to get tough, and then in here, this was looking very weak. But the only chances, the only spots in trying to revert trend since the 4,000 fall was really just those two areas in here, and it wasn't really that much. This was okay, but this is enormous, though. As you have a move straight up in 1, 2, 3, in about an hour or such. Well, at least from this low here, that's, yeah, an hour from like around 3,000 to 3,400 in an hour. That's like 13%. But we see the correctionary phase in another hour in time. A little longer than, oh no, an hour. So an hour up goes to 34, an hour lower, higher low to the 18 average of highs, newly rising. So resistance established in the break in here. If you played upon that strategy, that meant to buy at around 3,400 and change, and right now it's 3,600 and change. We can also see that short term, the levels it's been developing in here is 3,400 in the range, pretty much down to about 30, really even down to here, 32. So short term, a big correctionary range and a must hold area rather for that point is going to be between 32 and 34. Alrighty then. I didn't think I was going to spend like 12 minutes on just Bitcoin alone. Although, you know what, I can't be surprised. And I do have time today to do more videos. I don't feel like doing another one right now, but I will later in the day. And it's probably going to be altcoins. We'll see, because I don't know what else will come up. But yeah, there's a good chance that I'll get a few of them in later today. Maybe try to do a rapid fire one at some point. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.